Next, we're gonna talk about a little bit of ladder safety. So we're gonna describe safe practices for using a ladder. Obviously, using a ladder, your feet aren't on the ground, so it's, not an ideal situation, so, there's a lot of safety that goes with that. So, the biggest thing is you gotta be strong enough to hold yourself on the ladder. If you can't hold yourself on the ladder, then you're probably gonna fall off. So we wanna make sure we do that. We wanna make sure we train, as much as possible with those ladders. That way we can, have good teamwork whenever we're using them, and that's gonna help make it a lot safer as well. PPE is important. What kind of PPE do you think you need whenever you're working around ladders?
Gloves, helmet.
Ground fire scene, here.
Yeah, so it's really gonna depend on what kind of scene you're on. That's what it breaks down to, so. And then choosing the correct ladder for the assigned task. So depending on what you're doing, whether you're doing a rescue, ventilation, depending on what you're doing, depends on getting the right ladder. Because if you get the wrong ladder, then you gotta go back. You're just wearing yourself out, and that's, once you get tired, that's not safe, so. So, and then leg muscles, so whenever we're picking that ladder up, we're lifting with our legs and not our back. So, how many people do you think it takes to carry an extension ladder? One?
Two for safety.
I think it depends on the person. If you are comfortable carrying an extension ladder by yourself, then go for it. If you think you can do it safely. So. And the size of the extension ladder, yeah. So we're always gonna make sure that we're securing the feet and the tip of the ladder to make sure that it's not slipping out from underneath us. However, whatever your method of doing that is, whether it's tying it off or somebody healing it, whatever that is, so. And then 3 points contact is gonna be another one, so make sure that you always got at least 3 points contact on that ladder. When we're using an extension ladder, we're making sure that that extension ladder is fully locked in. Every now and then you'll get older ladders that have some dirt in them, and they don't, you think they're locked in, but they're not. And so you wanna make sure that that extension ladder is completely locked in, so. So we're always double checking the ladder, before we climb it, making sure that it's set where we want it. Climbing smoothly, and with a rhythm. So if you're climbing slow, then it's taking you longer to do it, which is wearing you out more. And on the scene, we gotta move with speed to get things done. So, we need to make sure that we're moving smooth and at a rhythmatic pace. So never overload the ladder, so they recommend that one person per 10 foot of the ladder. So if you got a 14-foot ladder, only one person is recommended to be on it. Leg lock, ladder belt. So we leg lock anytime that we're working on a ladder, for safety reasons. That way you can use both hands if you're locked in. Ladder belt, same thing, you're locked in. So on a fire scene, we want a ladder. We need 2 points of egress if we're working on a 2-story building. So we don't ever wanna move those ladders for safety reasons, because if somebody's inside and they need to get out and they think there's a ladder there where you moved it, now that's a safety concern. So we always once we set a ladder, we wanna leave it there unless you're ordered to move it, so. So use ladders for intended purposes only, so we don't wanna, ladders aren't levers, they're not shovels to dig with, they're not made to break glass, so we wanna use them there for climbing, that's what we wanna use them for. So we don't wanna be doing stupid stuff, that's how people get hurt, so. And then we're always gonna inspect for damage and wear after we use it, so we're gonna clean it, we're gonna inspect it at the end of a fire scene and ensure that everything is back in working order, so. So power lines with ladders, That's one thing we always wanna do is look up. We always wanna look up and see where, what we got above us, cause that ladder's taller than we are, so we wanna make sure there's no power lines. There's nothing that we can, tree limbs that we can hit that you knock it down, so. So, you see a lot of videos, guys sliding down ladders, it's not safe, not recommended at all. We've climbed down ladders, sliding down, that's not a good method, so. So whenever we're moving the ladder, we talked a little bit about this earlier, teamwork. We wanna move smooth and controlled. Anytime we're lifting with our legs and not our back. So some ladders, I mean, you start getting into 35-foot ladders, those get pretty heavy. You lift with your back, you're gonna tear your back up. So we always lift on the command of the firefighter that can see everybody. So if everybody's facing this way on this ladder, we're listening to the guy that can look at everybody and make sure everybody's ready. So everybody, when we're carrying the ladder, we wanna make sure that everybody knows what we're doing, where we're going with it, what the plan is. So what's some general guideline safety for ladder safety?
Overhead instructions.
Big one.
Secure the ladder reminders.
Safe lifting.
Anything else?
Locking off.
Don't use it as a shovel.
Lift with your legs and not your back. Alright, electrical hazards. We talked a little bit about this earlier. We're always gonna look for wires above us, below, cause they might have fallen on the ground. You're carrying basically a lightning rod. So if that's on the ground, you set that on the ground, it's going just like a wire that you're gonna be grabbing onto, so. You've got a lightning rod, so. So we're looking up, we're looking down, and we're always gonna maintain at least 10 feet away from any electrical line with a ladder. So sometimes we might have to get close to the power lines, so there's different ways of working around power lines in order to get around them. So that's just something you gotta train on, you gotta know before you get in that situation. You wanna know what you got going on. So any type of ladder, whether it's fiberglass, wood, metal, they all conduct electricity. Some conduct it better, some conduct it worse, but you're gonna get shocked. If you touch a power line, you're gonna get shocked regardless of what it's made of. So positioning the fly section, so some ladders are recommended with the fly in, some are recommended with the fly out. Some departments like it with the fly out only. A lot of wooden ladders recommend that the fly be in, versus a lot of metal recommend that the fly be out. So, know what ladder you have at your department and know, what it takes, what it requires in order for it to be, to operate the best. So when we're tying off the halyard, so we've extended the ladder, now we're ready to tie it off. We're gonna make sure that that is taut whenever we tie it off. So how can we avoid electrical hazards when raising a ladder? You gotta know it's there first, right? Maybe raise it straight up, parallel with the building versus perpendicular with the building. How should the fly of a metal or fiberglass extension ladder be positioned?
Okay, top.
Typically out.
Away from the building.
Alright, let's take a 5-minute break.